Welcome to Black Spring. Now, we begin with a backhanded support for a former Vice President Joe Biden's accuser, Tara Reade. And it comes from the squad member, a notorious member of Congress, that will be Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Now, according to Breitbart, in an interview with Britain's Sunday Times, the far-left congresswoman said she trusted Reade's claims that Joe Biden sexually assaulted her in the halls of Congress while she was working for him as a staffer when Biden was the senator of Delaware. In an interview with Britain's Sunday Times, the far-left congresswoman said she trusted Reade's claims that Joe Biden sexually assaulted her in the halls of Congress while she was working for him as a staffer when Biden was the senator for Delaware. Quote, "I do believe Reade," end quote. She told the newspaper, "Justice can be delayed but should never be denied," end quote. According to the interviewer, Omar added that if it was up to her, Biden would not be the Democratic nominee. Omar's comments underline the sharp division between the Democratic Party establishment and its growing number of far-left lawmakers, all of whom opposed Biden's candidacy. Despite being cheerleaders of the #MeToo anti-sexual harassment movement, practically all major party figures, including Biden himself, have ignored or dismissed the allegations outright, having previously argued that all women should be believed whether or not they can provide evidence. Meanwhile, Omar's most prominent ally in Congress, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat of New York, admitted last week that, quote, "certainly seems as though something has happened," end quote. Both women were strong supporters of Bernie Sanders' unsuccessful bid for the nomination. Quote, "There have been investigative journalists that have corroborated certain aspects of her account that is undeniable, and have raised questions about other aspects of her account," end quote. Ocasio-Cortez told NPR, quote, "I'm not sure. Frankly, this is a messy moment, and I think we need to acknowledge that it is not clear-cut," end quote. Biden, who has been accused of misconduct by 7 other women, has fervently denied the allegations, and he claims not to even remember who Reade is. Last week, he even called on voters who believed her not to account to the vote for him in November. Quote, "I think they should vote their heart, and if they believe Tara Reade, they probably shouldn't vote for me," end quote. He said on MSNBC's The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell, quote, "I wouldn't vote for me if I believed Tara Reade." I'd like to thank everyone for joining me on this segment of Black Spring. Now, all around the world, we are seeing an abrupt shadow come to light. A bit of a regime change, new conditions for less sovereignty, less self-governance, more control, which takes us to a developing story out of Hong Kong, a conflict that threatens the autonomy and the liberty of Hong Kong due to China's national security measure. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I take you now to the vetted source on this particular segment. Now, this particular story is written by Warren Mass. Hong Kong police used tear gas to quell protest against China's new security law. Now, police in Hong Kong trained water cannons and fired tear gas at protesters on May 24th after thousands of demonstrators took to the streets to protest a proposal announced by China's National People's Congress 3 days earlier, quote, establishing and improving the legal system and enforcement mechanisms, end quote, for Hong Kong in order to safeguard national security, end quote. Hong Kong police said they arrested at least 120 people, reported the Associated Press. The proposal would allow China to circumvent the Hong Kong's own legislative body to crack down on activity that Beijing considers subversive. It represented a major policy change on China's part. Now, Hong Kong's chief executive, Carrie Lam, who is apparently no more than Beijing's pawn and was in Beijing for the annual Congress, told reporters on May 22nd that she supported the bill, asserting that it would safeguard security and was in the interest of all Hong Kong residents. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I will now take you to a clip of those particular measures. Thank you so much once again for your And now, ladies and gentlemen, I will be taking you to a bit of a reactionary.
連我出街我都會好驚咯，或者我講任何嘢我都會好驚咯。
我咧就幾廿年前上海過嚟嘅，咁啊上海所經歷嘅嘢，我係經歷過，非常之唔安全嘅。夜晚有時候你會聽到隨便即係嗰啲 bibo， 你就唔知。聽朝邊個俾拉咗啦？啱啊！我就擔心香港有咁嘅事發生。心啲人身安全好咯，同埋嗰啲我又唔知有冇犯到法啊？呢啲嘢我驚有啲陷阱到咯。
即係覺得冇商量餘地啊！即係覺得佢根本冇心同我哋香港人丟啦。咁根本佢個感覺係一早已經想揾辦法一國一制㗎啦。係咯，所以唔使即係冇嘢好講啦 ，speechless。
I'd like to thank everyone for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Now, I would like to just add an actual tag of my own at this segment. Now, as you can see, there's quite a bit of a chaos and a bit of a shadow power. There's a strong force to consolidate governments and to curtail freedoms and liberties around the world. Now, of course, from the segment that you saw, many Many have believed in a two-party system, but they believed in the sovereignty and they believed in the autonomy which they grew up and that they've been accustomed to in the Hong Kong area. So let me know what you think. Do you think there will be a response worldwide from the U.S. government? Will there be potentially sanctions imposed on China because of the measures that are in place? Or do you think this is going to be just another part of the regime change, and that is overwhelmingly powerful and is going to overwhelm citizens that want to essentially be free and maintain their nation, their sovereignty, their state sovereignty. And once again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. This is Memorial Day, and I hope you are enjoying it as much as you can around the country. Thank you so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn.